In Rome 2, heavy cavalry, and more specifically heavy horse, made their barbarian factions very powerful together with their strong melee infantry, because these guys can hold their own against enemy cavalry. With Levi Freeman support, they become deadly against enemy cavalry, and they can also do a lot of damage to enemy cavalry. However, something came up that made me wonder, could Wedge be useful for something? Could Wedge in Rome 2 be useful against shock cavalry head-on? Because I've never tried it myself. So here we have two Thessalians coming up against this heavy horse. On the charge, the Thessalians, let's just pause it here. Thessalians have a massive charge bonus of 67, while the heavy horse, they're down there at 39. Not bad for melee cavalry, but certainly not as good as the Thessalians. So on the charge, the Thessalians don't lose anything, while the heavy horse drop fairly rapidly. It will be interesting to see whether the heavy horse can come back from this. But over here in the Wedge, I was a bit interested to see whether the same thing happens as in Attila, that the unit moves around and then comes back. But what you'll notice here is that the unit doesn't continue as far behind the other unit in Rome 2. So what happens is this Thessalian cavalry, let's see here, this Thessalian cavalry will still be able to impact fewer units. So the heavy horse lost about the same amount of men on the charge, but they should have taken significantly less impact damage, and it looks like they also were able to kill more Thessalians on the charge. Here the Thessalians are doing a great job in destroying the heavy horse. Now on a battlefield situation this would be different, because on the battlefield these Thessalians would probably get a precursor volley of 2 of Levi Freeman in the face. These fights would be supported, and in that case Epirus doesn't have the good support that Arverni has. Sure, they have militia hoplites, they're more expensive, they lack precursors. Very good for supporting cavalry fights, but then again, militia hoplites rush in to support the Epirus, and then Arverni gets supported by Levi Freeman and Celtic warriors, perhaps. So Arverni takes this engagement, but the heavy horse is losing here against the Thessalians. Over here, though, the unit is winning. Thessalians down to about 30 men. And over here they're also down to 30, but this engagement happened a lot sooner. So the Thessalians win with 30 men remaining. They could still do a lot of damage rear charging or charging into an enemy melee unit, stop an enemy charge. Over here though, I'll just fast forward. Over here, the heavy horse seems to be grinding down the Thessalians. Now it's losing quite a few men, down into the 20s, but now it won. And the difference between having to deal with a 30-man Thessalian unit and winning with 26 men remaining, that's the amount of difference that wins battles. Now, of course, mixed engagements makes things different, but let's say that this engagement happens on the flanks here, and you're engaging with heavy horse, you go 2 ranks deep up against Thessalians, you're going to get wrecked. But if you go into Wedge, and we might have to look at other formations as well, if you go into Wedge and limit the amount of shock cavalry units that are able to hit your unit directly, heavy horse just shows how great of a unit it is. Even taking on the more expensive shock cavalry of Epirus and Macedon and coming out on top. Strength and honor.